In this video, guys, it's time to change the bearings for our rear suspension. We're going to do just the shock bearing. The linkage bearings are good, the lower shock bearing and the upper shock bearing. I'll show you how to do it. All right, so first things first, guys. I'll show you. We got a seal, and then you got the inner bearing, like the shaft, and then there's the bearing itself. So these ones are pretty wonky, you can see, and the whole shock was twisting around. So what we're gonna do is take our little pick, pop out the seal. Then there's a steel inner. You can take a look on how it was placed. Make sure you note that it was in that orientation. There they go. You can see how bad the bearing is. It's already falling apart. Perfect. The rest of it just fell out. I just wanted to let you guys know that there's different ways to buy these bearings. If you're going to do the linkage, which is this bearing, this bearing, and this bearing, and you buy a linkage bearing kit, usually the kit will come with the lower bearing for the shock. It won't come with the upper, so you'd have to buy just an upper. But that way, if you're redoing all of it, you don't buy a linkage kit, an upper bearing, and a lower bearing, and just have an extra bearing sitting around that you don't need. I just wanted you guys to know that. I can't get my little pick in there. There we go. Just trying to get that dust seal out of the way. Why is this being so stubborn? I feel like I'm going to slip and stab this pick right in my hand. I should be able to just get underneath it and pop it out like the other three did. Try a different technique here, a little screwdriver maybe. There we go. I guess the pick just couldn't do it. So what the trick is to getting this stuck bearing out is you can buy a fancy kit from Motion Pro, but it's ridiculously expensive. So we found a socket that just fits on that race, and there's still a little bit of play so the socket won't get wedged in. And then we find a socket that's bigger, I'll show you, that can cover the outside that the bearing can push into. I'll show you with the vise. Simply push it into our vise. The middle is better than using the edge of your vise. And just carefully, there she goes. Pushing it out. She's out. Take our socket out. Now it's just a matter of cleaning that up. We're gonna grease these today too. So our lower bearing kit's got a bearing, the inner race, the two seals, and the two outer pieces that hold it all together. So before we install the bearing, we always have a brush and a Ziploc bag that we dip in our grease. And I'd rather throw it out every time. I put it in the Ziploc bag, so it's got grease on it. I'm just gonna put some grease on the inside to help it seat. Like to slide in. Get our bearing out of the package. Man, these package them up. It's got some grease in it and all the pins are in there. You want to check. You want to check, guys. Make sure your bearing's good and you're not missing a pin. I've seen it before. So we don't need to use our sockets right away. We might use the socket to help center it, but right now we can just get this vise a lot closer. Get our bearing sort of there. Keep it flat against the back side of the vise, and then Push it in. If it's ridiculously tight, you probably want to stop, guys. There's probably something wrong. So you can see our bearing's halfway in. We're going to need to push farther, so we're going to use the socket again. But you don't need to buy every specialty tool out there. I do quite a few bikes, and I don't have that specialty tool. Would I try it if I had access to it? Yeah, sure I would. Am I going to go out and spend $400 on basically a set of sockets that I can just push the parts in with? No, I'm not. But Motion Pro, if you want me to try one, feel free to send me one. I'd like to see how it works. If you guys don't have a set of Verniers calipers, it's probably a must-have tool. I use them quite a bit for checking stuff. You can check the diameter of things, and they're got to be 10 or 20 bucks. You can probably buy them on Amazon. I'm sure you can buy anything on Amazon, so I'm sure they're on there. 3.45. .5. Okay, good enough. I'm not adjusting microscopic millimeters here. So now all that's left, we're gonna put a little bit of grease in the bearing while it's open. Then we're gonna put the center in. Comes with the kit, obviously. I can't push the thing in by hand, and it should. So I'm gonna do basically the same thing I did, but I'm holding the bearing. I'm going to tap that inside piece in, but I'm holding the bearing with the small socket I used to push it in. Yeah, that's good. Oh, and it spins good. Huh, it's just tight. Well, we'll put a little more grease. Put our things on. And our seals. So while we have the linkage off the bike, we simply pop these caps out, pushed out the pin, and we're going to re-grease these bearings. There's a little bit of old grease left in there. That's good, but the bearings are good. They don't need new bearings. Doesn't need a bearing and seal kit for the linkage. But if you're gonna go this far, you better grease it. But probably the most neglected part of maintenance of a bike is greasing the bearings and what needs to be done. That's all it needs, a little more grease. Linkage is done. All right, guys. So it's really hard to see in the video. I've got to try to get more lighting. This bearing, it's supposed to be like that. It's a ball bearing inside of a set piece. It's a one-piece unit when it goes in. But there is a small C-clip right there. You can see it. It goes all the way around. But it's the little gap right there where my pick is, that, we have to pull that out. And the bearing actually has to be installed from this side, going in this way, coming out this way. Because this side's bigger than the other side, obviously. All right, so we managed to get the little C-clip out of there, or little circlip. So we found a socket that'll fit. It has to be pushed out the same side as the circlip came out of. And we'll simply, now that we've got it set up, we'll simply tighten it up and press that old bearing out into this other socket. Just like that. So you guys can see down in here, there's a lip. So the bearing obviously can't go out that way. It has to come out this way. So we greased up the inside and we greased up our bearing. We'll press it back in. We'll start it this way and then we'll go back to our sockets. There, she's down all the way. You can feel your vise get pretty tight. Now it's just a matter of installing our new clip that came with our bearing and seal. This clip's got a lot bigger space than the one that came out of it. So maybe it'll be easier to get out for the next guy. Well, we'll simply put our seals in. Anyway, guys, that's how you do the upper and lower shock bearing. So pretty straightforward. Once you know what you're looking for. The biggest thing is some bikes don't have that little circlip that's like impossible to get out, and others do. So if you do have the circlip, take a really good look, maybe measure the hole. One will be bigger than the other, so it always has to push out of that way. You guys also got to see us re-grease all the linkage bearings and whatnot. So those bearings are pretty much brand new. This bike's really coming back together. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe on the videos. Leave a comment. Let me know how you guys do it, if you guys do something different. And we'll see you guys in the next one.